Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to Common English Mistakes. Don't just learn, improve. So today we're going to look at another real world mistake, which I heard this time with make and do. This one causes a lot of problems in English, again, because often in other languages, there's only one verb where English has two. So we'll look at the general theory of when to use make, when to use do, some important make and do phrases as well, but ultimately how you should go about studying this so that you will improve and become more accurate. Anyway, the mistake is up here. It's okay to do mistakes in English. So pause the video, try to correct the sentence. And well done if you said it's okay to make mistakes in English. So I've got two examples up here. I did the washing up after dinner. I made a cake yesterday. Just pause the video and think, in which sentence do you create something and which one is something which already existed before? And well done if you said the washing up, something which already exists, it's in the sink, and it's a task or job you have to do. Whereas with a cake, that doesn't exist and you create it. Obviously, it's a bit easier when you're thinking about a cake. It's more difficult, but the same concept applies with something like a noise. It doesn't exist until you create it. So you make a noise. And the same with a mistake. A mistake doesn't exist until you create it. So going back to that example, it's okay to make mistakes in English. So that being said, I've got 7 sentences here. Some are correct, but most of them are wrong. Just pause the video, think, do they exist or not? And just correct the ones which you think are wrong. And well done if you said a course runs every year, it exists whether you take it or not. So I did a course. The next one, an apology doesn't exist until you create it. So I think you should make an apology. And the next one's a bit of an exception. Okay, the research doesn't exist, but it is a job, it is a task, so you do research. And then teachers set homework. It already exists. It's a task you have to do. Nobody did their homework. A report can be both. You create it, but it's also a task or job. So I did a report, I made a report. Both are fine. Some others which can be both are more with the sort of creative things. So she made a lovely drawing. He does lovely pieces of art. And I enjoy making these videos. I do about 3 videos a week. And finally then, you should always do the exercise at the end of these videos. Exercise, whether you're thinking about it as a piece of work for school or uncountable sport, you're always going to do exercise. So that's the general concept of when to use make and when to use do. And it is useful to know. But you're not going to use it in the real world if you say, have a noisy neighbor and think noise. I create it, make. So you're making a lot of noise. This is something you're going to have to study beforehand. And again, try to make it so it's automatic. You know it really, really well. That's how you're going to get this really good. So we're going to look at the main expressions with make and the main expressions with do. So firstly, you make an appointment, something like the dentist, make a booking or a reservation at something like a hotel or restaurant. All of these things to do with creating a time to do something with make. And then like with the original example, make mistakes, make errors, but then also make corrections afterwards. A quite fun one a nice idiom is to make a pig's ear of something. So I made a pig's ear of that presentation. I created a really bad presentation. And if you're talking about making mistakes socially, more situation, you can talk about making everything or making things right. A nice one there. And then you can make a promise, make an apology, or make a complaint. There, of course, you could just use the verb instead. Generally, the make expressions are a bit stronger language, either a bit more dramatic or a bit more formal. And then you can make a decision or make a suggestion. Those ones might be useful where you're not actually saying what the decision or suggestion is. For example, have you made a decision yet? Hurry up and make a decision. Or in a discussion, very natural to say, can I make a suggestion? And then moving on to talk about money. You make money. Teachers, sadly, don't make a lot of money. And if you're talking about a company, they can either make a profit or make a loss. And then finally, talking about when people meet you, you make an impression, make a first impression. I think I made a good impression in that interview. Let's now look at the do expressions. The first big group is all of our household chores, household tasks. So, do the washing up, do the laundry, which is everything, washing, drying, folding the clothes. And then the one I hate, doing the ironing. Horrible task. The one big exception is make the bed. Every morning I make the bed. I hope you guys do too. And then another group, do good. The charity does a lot of good in the community. The opposite isn't bad. You talk about doing harm. Plastic does a lot of harm to the environment. And also, do damage. You did some damage to my car. And one kind of related to those is talking about doing the right thing, the moral thing to do. So if you find a wallet, you should do the right thing and give it to the police. And then you can follow do with an adverb. So Arsenal, doing very well this season. Chelsea, doing very badly. Good to see. Tottenham, doing okay. And then things related to education. Do homework, do a test, do an exam. In chemistry, you do experiments. And like we saw, you do research, whether in the class or in the real world. And finally, do a favor or do someone a favor. Quite a useful phrase is, can you do me a favor and, plus the verb, often just for a small task. For example, can you do me a favor and pass that file? Perfectly natural, a very, very good phrase. So that's the make and do phrases. I've just got one more mistake for you. Pause the video and try to correct this sentence up here. And very well done if you said, the weather's great, let's have a barbecue. Anything social where people meet, spend time together, etc., use the verb have. So, have a barbecue, have a party. As we saw last video, have a get-together, a small group. Also have a wedding. And then even if it's not social, but is people meeting, have a meeting or have maybe a training session or an appraisal at work. Anyway, explanation over. Once again, if you haven't subscribed already and you've learnt something in the video, make sure to hit that button. Lots more good stuff coming out in the next few weeks. But when you're ready, let's practice and improve. Just pause the video and put either make, do, or have into these gaps. Remember, you might have to change the form of the verb. And well done if you said, I try to do some exercise 3 times a week. The last booking I made was for a nice restaurant. The waiter was very rude. I think I'll make a complaint. And then we normally have a family get-together at Christmas when the family meets, uncles, cousins, etc. Then I don't mind doing the cleaning. And finally, I think you shouldn't make noise after 9 p.m. So now just write, say, or discuss the same sentences for you. So in terms of how you're going to improve, what I recommend you do is Google, do exercises. There's lots of material out there. Do the exercises, and most importantly, write down anything you get wrong or don't know 100%. Slowly but surely, you'll improve to the point where it's just automatic. It's instinctive and you won't have to think about it. And finally, today's question, what is the most frequent mistake you make in English? So write your answers in the comments, guys. I can also make a video on that mistake. Anyway, I hope that was useful for you. And now you'll make fewer mistakes with make and do. Other than that, I'll see you for another video in the next couple of days. Until next time, see ya.